Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Let's try this again. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good morning. How are you? Hello to everyone watching on the television. Hello, David in Nigeria. Okay, so because of the fact that I'm recorded, I usually open with this dissertation about, listen to my words, listen for the Spirit in what I'm speaking, and I try to downplay that I have anything important to say. Well, there has been I'd say quite a bit, there we go, that's the word I'm looking for. There's been quite a bit of feedback that I should be more confident. So today, I will do my final beginning dissertation because those in this room are probably tired of hearing it. I do it for the benefit of somebody just flipping channels, happens to land on one of my videos and listens. I just want to address the difference between confidence and arrogance. So my approach is to try to make sure that I don't come across as arrogant. However, I wouldn't be standing up here if I didn't have a little bit of confidence. This isn't necessarily, you don't record yourself when you're lacking confidence. So I think the point that I've tried to convey through it is that there is a difference between prophesying and being a prophet. This is kind of what I thought of this week, trying to explain a little bit more of the message that I'm trying to convey. And anyone can bring a prophecy. Anybody can prophesy. Ask Balaam. But not everyone is a prophet, not a prophet of Adonai, of Yahweh. To be a prophet of Yahweh, not one single one of your words will fall void. So I don't see myself as a prophet, not every single word. The words coming out of my mouth aren't straight from Him. You know, there's the ability for words from Him to come through me, but not every word is. So that's primarily the focus, and the reason that I do this is because I am confident that my message is a message of unity, of love, of gathering together a community of people. And when you have a way of thinking in our society where you have a pastor or have a teacher that is over an organization, the people in that organization are his members. And what he's building up is his ministry. And that's not what Faith Shalom is about. This isn't about us building our ministry. This is about us trying to, the message is a message of unity. The message is a message of His people serving Him together. And what we are doing, the reason we have these groups, the reason I'm standing up here speaking is because I feel called to do that. For this, I feel like I've been given that job for this particular gathering. But the idea is the greater calling to call His people to worship Him, not necessarily come be members of my thing. And that's really what I'm trying to convey. And I don't want somebody to come across one word or one statement and think, oh, I don't agree with this guy, and throw out the whole message, throw the baby out with the bathwater. I want it to be real clear that I don't think I have all the answers. So, there are 4 students. There is a student who is a brick. A brick takes nothing from no one. Please don't be a brick. A sponge absorbs everything. Please don't be a sponge. Okay? The other 2 students are both sifters. One is a sifter who sifts out all the good and holds on to the bad. Well, I don't agree with this, and I don't agree with that, and this wasn't right, and that wasn't right. Then the other one is a sifter who sifts out all the bad and holds on to what is good. Look for the good. So truth is truth no matter who says it, no matter where it comes from. So listen for truth and hold on to that. And then also, a couple weeks ago, I stated that I did not want to teach. I just want to take a minute to clarify that. So some people like to talk. Some people, no matter what environment they're in, no matter where they're at, they feel like they have this desire and this need to communicate, to speak. And that is not my nature. I'm perfectly content with sitting in the corner and listening. So that's what I was trying to convey, is that I'm not up here because I really desire to be a teacher and I have to have an outlet. It's because I feel that I have that I've been instructed to be here. And I do want to adhere to those instructions. But the microphone is open to others who want to share things as well, because we are a community and we are a congregation of people for a purpose of worshiping the Creator. Okay, so hopefully I didn't take too long in that, but no more dissertations at the beginning of the messages. So, all right. So today I'm going to jump right in it. Hopefully I'm going to kind of punch you in the gut, and then I'm going to back up and kind of explain myself. So the nice thing about people being in the room is it's very hard if you disagree with something I say to get up and walk out. But when somebody's watching you on the television, they just change the channel. So just bear with me. So today we are going to speak about the tabernacle, but I'm going to give you a different perception, a different way of looking at it. Ideally, I would like to fly through this message, deliver it. I'm going to try not to get off on tangents and just give you the message. And hopefully we can finish up and have plenty of time to let this thought process get dumped on you guys, and we get some feedback and some interaction here. That's my hopes. So, I'm going to try to jump through this. It makes sense to me spiritually, but when I try to wrap my head around it, it seems like a lot. So, I'm going to fight the temptation of dwelling on an issue and re-explaining it, because I have a tendency to do that. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to go through this. So we're going to start off by talking about this. How many of you know and would agree that Scripture says that we are created in His image? Right? There's no argument to that. Okay? So this is what I want to talk about today. You are like God in your universe. You are an island to yourself. Have you heard that saying? Okay, let me just say, God is truth and everything comes from truth. So that was my opening statement. I'm going to step over on the side here and just talk about a potential problem we could have in me making an opening statement like that, and then I'm going to get back to that message. Okay, so God is truth. Everything comes from truth, and the truth is the core of every lie. Truth is the foundation of deceit or of a lie, and a lie is a truth added to or taken away from. Does that make sense? Does anyone have an argument? Anybody highly offended by that statement? So in the beginning, Yahweh created everything. He is truth. So the foundation of every single thing that exists was founded upon a truth. What the adversary does, what a lie is, what deceit is, what deception is a tweak of a truth. Take a truth and you turn it, okay? One of the problems that you have is when you go all the way to the end of a lie, and you recognize a lie, and then you reject everything that is attached to that lie. But at the core of that lie is still a truth. Does that make sense? Okay, we'll move on. So there's two prominent beliefs that I want to discuss that I've talked about several times, and that is one is the third eye, and then the other one is the all-seeing eye, right? And we all know that these are idolatry. We believe in the one true Creator, right? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So we would say that these are definitely, without a doubt, fallacies, right? The third eye and the all-seeing eye, these are lies. This is deception. So in the third eye, this is where we get the New Age movement and a lot of Kabbalistic thinking. So on the Greek side, it's New Age. On the Jewish side, it's Kabbalah. But this is a concept of this inner being inside of you, this inner energy, this light, this essence that's within you, right? And the ultimate desire is to escape the bad physical world and be united into this light. But in it contains the idea that we are a part of the Almighty. We're a part of the source of life. Okay? That's the deception. Then you have the all-seeing eye. But out of the all-seeing eye comes, because there's an outer force, right? There's a spirit. There's a lot of those who consider themselves to be religious today, serving the God Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Christians, who are in danger of giving into this thought of there's just a spirit out there, there's just a force out there, there's this something, that a cosmic force that controls the universe, but it's not a relationship with a living God. So out of these we have luck, fortune, magic, and then the pantheon. And if you don't like what this God does for you, you go hire this God, right? But in either way, it puts you in a position of you still be as selfish as you want to be. So one sense, there is within you light, and in the other sense, there's this outer universe that you can manipulate in some way to get what you want. Okay? So when I say we are gods in our universe, you can take those and think that I'm going one of those two directions. That I'm kind of, oh, he's been influenced by this, or oh, he's been influenced by that. And the reason I just went through that little sidestep is just to say that I'm trying to bring a message forward, but some of the vocabulary in here can be associated with this, or it could be associated with that. And remember that even though those are lies, and that's not what I'm saying, if I speak of truth, then those truths that I speak of may be embedded in some of those lies. And then you recognize that, don't throw it out. Because even though there's a lie over here, and that I'm saying something that sounds like that, I could be speaking of the truth. So just keep your ears open to hear, and at the end of the message, rule or judge within yourself whether the message is true or not. Okay? But be careful not to get caught up in these words. So, one example of this is when I was a Methodist for a while, and in the Methodist faith, they have a heavy belief that you can lose your salvation. And we constantly were in contrast to the Baptist belief, which was eternal secure. So there was arguments regularly. When I was, attending there, they would continually bring up this argument about how the Baptists were wrong. And they would bring up all the scriptures that prove that you can lose your salvation. But later on, spent some time with a pastor who came from the Baptist side. And he spent a lot of time trying to convince me that when I was Methodist, I was being lied to, because he had all the scriptures that proved that you're eternally secure. Neither one of them realized that salvation was Yeshua, and you can't lose Yeshua, but you can choose whether or not to accept him, right? So within both of their arguments, they would use scripture to support their argument, but at the same time they were losing scripture. So they were getting skewed because they weren't accepting. You got to take all the scriptures. You got to say, okay, these 5 scriptures support this theory, so I'm going with it. Well, these disprove it. Well, I'm going to reject those and just hold on to these, because you can't do that. You've got to take all the scriptures and say, okay, well, if this scripture challenges what I deem to be true based on all of these, but that one doesn't fit, then maybe my truth is off. You've got to make it all work together. Okay. So we can reject the idea that we are gods because it sounds like New Age. But would you get the marker board? So, and I have a reason why I'm going here, so hang with me, if you will. But now that I've said all of that, I'm going to go back to we are gods. No, the stand-up one.
Easel.
The easel. That's the word I was looking for. So, if you think about it, I mean, is that a new concept to anybody? I mean, is anybody in this room fighting with that as a... Is this we're all a world to ourselves? We are gods of our world?
I get it.
You get it? Okay, cool. Alright, so that was a lot easier.
As a big G, but as a little G, like our creator of our own
Right.
world,
Right.
our own mind.
So I actually won't need this because everybody gets it, but I'm laying it right here. I meant to
Well,
get it.
maybe the people online don't get it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
You're going to get emails.
So, yeah,
I got it because that's what I dealt with this week.
Yeah.
I mean, so Okay. Let's say this is the world. Okay?
You're definitely gonna get emails.
Oh, that better be a disc.
Okay, so this is a person, okay? Alright, so I'm not suggesting or saying anything, but I'm going to call this a person. I'm going to call this a being, okay? So, not everything's to scale. Alright, so let's say that this is, as a sphere of space, this is the world that we all live in, right? And all of us are people. We're all little worlds. Yeah.
Turkey pepperoni.
Yes. Beef. Okay. So within your world, and see, we can real quickly get into a conversation about the laws of attraction and all kinds of different thoughts. But inside of your world, you get to decide a lot of things, do we not?
Yeah.
We have a lot of power and control within our world. So we are, in itself, we are a world, and we, and somehow, in some way, we rule in our world. Is that right? We're a God. We have creative ability within our own minds and our thought process, yes.
Maybe we shouldn't
Maybe we shouldn't.
rule in our own law, I mean.
Yeah. And yeah. Okay, so you just saw the end of the movie.
Oh,
Okay.
You're
John
not done.
John,
Y'all know who won now.
I wanted to know that.
Keep going.
Okay. So, exactly. I mean, and I mean, all of us who believe in the one true living God, we all struggle with this immediately because we're like, whoa, wait a minute, he's the ruler, he's the reigner. So, but I'm going to tie this concept into the Mishkan. I'm going to try to anyway. And like I said, I mean, it's like part of me, this seems so simple, but then another part of me, I just can't seem to wrap my head around it. So it's like I get it, but I don't get it. And now I'm trying to explain it. So bear with me, and hopefully the Spirit does the speaking. I think that's the reason I was nervous, because it was like I don't really understand what I'm going to try to teach. Yeah, I'm learning what I'm teaching.
You're in Yeshua's class.
Has anyone else ever been in a position of teaching, and that while you were teaching, you're actually learning from your own words? Has anyone else ever experienced that?
In homeschool.
Okay. Yes. I mean, it's like that.
Yeah, there's tons of them.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So there's a world, and within the world are all these little worlds, which are individual people. Okay? So what I'm going to do is separate these out and do a comparison of these worlds and then the big world, right? So in our Torah portion, in our scriptures, we have things that relate to this world, but what I'm going to do is relate that to this world, which is the individual, okay? And outside of all of this, right? Outside of all that is, I would say, order or Torah or His law or His way. And outside of that, uncontainable, not drawable, not with no bounds, is Yahweh. Alright? So, but we are given creative power within our own lives. Creative ability to create thought, to create opinion, to create the way we perceive things, the way we understand things, the way we interact. Alright? So we are gods, yet we have a God. Just like we're parents, yet we have parents. Or I'm a child of His, yet I have children. So, we just went through Mount Sinai. The Mount Sinai experience. And then we went into Mishpat, judgments, and we talked about how that was principles to apply in our life. And then we go into the construction of the tabernacle, the Mishkan, the holy dwelling place. So the Mishkan was built. You know what? I'm going to do it this way. Was built in the world, right? And you had the ark, right? In the Holy of Holies. And inside the ark was the Ten Commandments, tablets of the testimony, right? And then you had the menorah, right? The showbread, right? And then you had the bronze laver here. And then you had the altar.
Looks like a face.
Looks like a face, right?
Is he smoking?
Okay, so I actually got this from Aleph Beta. Talked about the Mishkan looking like a face, where this would be the brain, and then the eye, or what you see with the bread. And then I thought this was kind of cool with the brass the laver, because what was it, Rabbi Schneider?
Mirrors of women.
Yeah, so he talks about this being the mirrors, and when you approach to wash, you see a reflection. And then this is the altar where you bring your sacrifice. And they pointed out that it was a face, and they're talking about God being in the universe. So, can the infinite be contained within the finite? Can God really be in the world? Right? Can He be in the world? He can't be contained within the world, but He can have a presence in our world, right? Does that make sense to everybody? What's your thoughts on that? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
I like how right here on the forehead looking,
Yeah?
it's Yahweh is right there on the seat right there.
Yeah.
And so on the turban of the priest it says consecrated to Yahweh. It says Kadosh Yahweh. And that's where he puts his seals on our foreheads.
Yeah.
The Ruach, his presence.
And this is, have these things written upon your foreheads, and I talk about how that's right there is your cerebral cortex, which is the part of your brain that actually makes decisions. It's located, right there. So let the tablets determine your decisions, right? That's where we go with it. So, I have so many different directions I can go with this. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is that the tabernacle, so right now in our world, do we have a tabernacle?
Yes.
And inside.
Us.
Yep.
Physical
That's where I'm going. So if, how many of you feel any type of desire that the tabernacle be here? That a physical tabernacle be here, that you could go to the tabernacle. Okay, you do. Anyone else? No. You do. You
Do
do.
you even know him?
I do. What's your thoughts on that?
If his presence was there.
Right.
I would go, yeah, not just,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So the picture of what
What
took
they had,
place,
yeah.
the picture of what took place in the desert, where His dwelling presence is there, and everyone's coming to worship, and it's done in holiness. To be in a physical location and experience that, I have a desire for.
Mm-hmm.
But if, and you were like, no, so.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, I guess, I don't have a desire for that as far as I need it or I want it to the point where I look for it when it's not there.
Okay.
So I guess I understand that what Scripture says about it,
Right.
and then when it is coming, and I mean, yeah, I look forward to, I know that it will come and it will be here and it's coming from somewhere else. But
Right.
and so, yes, I desire that, like Abraham did.
Yeah.
He looked for a city whose builder and maker was God. But I don't want it so bad that I'm willing to say, well, let's make our own and I need
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
sorry.
so, and that's the point is, even if you have that desire, that if you think about it and you have kind of a longing, like a nostalgic almost feeling, like that's something that you would, it's not necessarily the structure itself, it's the dwelling presence and being within His holiness, to have that interaction. I at least have that longing. But let's say that that was here. So in the days of the desert, when they had the Mishkan, it was up, it was operating, it was running, they were sacrificing, the menorah is running, the presence is dwelling. Moshe's there, he's going in. When you go into the courts, when you go in there, do you think that you would feel anything? Do you think there would be an emotional reaction to what's going on in there? I mean, you're smelling the incense, you're seeing the animals, you're seeing the blood, you're going past the water, the priests are coming in and out. Right there is the Holy of Holies, a place that you cannot go into unless you are a priest, all right? And right inside there, behind that curtain, is the dwelling presence of the Most High. So do you think that there would be some sort of an emotional thing happening at that time? I think there would be.
If not, you're dead.
But when you walk outside of there, would it be possible, in your life experience, do you think that it's possible, once you walked out of that area, which would stimulate emotional things, when you walked out of that area, how well do you think that you could maintain the emotion outside of that environment? When you go back to your tent and the baby's crying. Yes?
I would say it depends on where the emotion came from. Was the emotion based on truth, or was the emotion based on a reaction?
Right.
Because there's different kinds of emotion. There's you see something and you're like, oh, I have a feeling, and it's gone. It's like the difference between happiness and joy. But if you see it and you know what it is and you understand, that emotion would stay with you and you continue.
Yeah.
When you leave.
Yeah.
It's still truth.
I'd agree with you 100%. I would deem that, the truth part, as fruit. Because you can take fruit out with you, but the emotion, the feeling part, just the feeling itself, it's hard to maintain a feeling. I mean, how many times have you gone to church and you felt something, but yet later the feeling left? But when you're in the moment of feeling, sometimes there's a call to action, right? You get a message possibly. Something is spoken to you from the Spirit, or you believe that you're hearing something from the Father, and in the emotion, you're all in. But then later, without the emotion, this is where the hard part comes. You have to choose at that point. Without the benefit or the help of the emotional environment, you still have to move forward into obedience, right? So what I'm saying is that even when the physical Mishkan was there was still a requirement outside of that area to live a holy life. You didn't live inside here. Moshe didn't go inside the Holy of Holies and stay. Right? So we didn't go in there and stay in there. So there's a greater lesson, my point is, there's a greater lesson to us in the instructions of the Mishkan and what the Mishkan represents, because as it was placed inside this world, we've got to place it inside this world. So, inside of our own individual worlds, there needs to be an interaction with the holy. There needs to be a place, a space within us that's carved out as holy. A place that we can go to within our world where we acknowledge that we are not the Creator. Because the one true living God, the Creator of all things, Yod-He Vav-He, is, was, is, and will be. The self-sustaining one. All-sufficient. We cannot say those things. Are you a God in your world? Yes, you're a God in your world with a small g. But did you create your world? Your world has a beginning and your world has an end, and you have no control over that. Right? So we have to acknowledge within our own worlds that we are finite. We were created. He was, is, and will be. He is self-sufficient. There is no begin, there is no end. But within our world, there is. So within your life, within your world, we should set up a Mishkan within our life. Within our world, when we come through the gates, there's a sacrifice. What can that sacrifice be for us today? What can that sacrifice be for us today in our world? This can be a sacrifice of praise. It can be prayer. It can be time dedicated to Him. Right? So there is, within our world, we need to have a place that we go where we offer, and not, I mean, Saul offered sacrifices, but the sacrifices that were offered as an omen. What happens if you walked in here and just offered a sacrifice as an omen? Within our Mishkan, within our own life, we need true sacrifice. We need to truly acknowledge that we are not the creators. We are not the created being. We are the God in this universe, and we subject our headship of our own thoughts, our own conscience, right? Of the resources that we have control of. The money that's in your bank account, you own that. You're in control of that. Right? All the resources that we have, the things that we bring into our home, the things that we buy. Within our world, we take ownership and control of those things, but yet we have to acknowledge at some point that we are not the provider of all things. We're not in control of all things. And so when we go to our Mishkan, there is a place, a call for sacrifice. We also must wash, we must be clean, and this is a place where we look into ourselves. This is where we test yourselves to see if you be in the faith, right? So this week I was kind of thinking about this, and I'm like, you know, with this representing the nose, and then thinking about it representing that we need to look at ourselves and examine ourselves, I just thought, you know, sayings that we even use. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I thought it was kind of cool thinking about a saying like, it's plain as the nose on your face. What does that mean? I mean, I don't know, you might not go where I go, but to me, thinking of it in the terms of where I should go in my spiritual walk, and thinking of the brass laver as representing a nose, because what we try to do in our life is we try to be like Him, right? So we need to take upon the appearance of Him, but not necessarily His physical attributes. When we're created in His image doesn't mean that we necessarily look like Him. But yet what we're to look like, the face that we're to show, isn't necessarily a face, but it's in our character, in the way that we hold ourselves, or the way that we walk. Okay? So I thought it was really interesting, all the different analogies to what a nose is, you know? Thinking about things like, you know, he's got a good nose on him. Right? I mean, what does that mean? Everybody heard that saying? No?
He's smart, he's intelligent.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that was just for fun. So here's the thing.
Keeping your nose clean.
Keep your nose clean. Awesome. See? I was having all these, I didn't write them all down because it was just driving and just popped into my head, and it was like, oh, that's cool, that's cool. I don't know. It was just, maybe it was just the Spirit, the Father, having fun with me. I don't know. I was enjoying it. So, here's a thought for you. I'm going to tie all this together. Here's a thought for you. What if Torah, the instructions, what if the instructions, represented by the tablets, right? What if these are the standard by which our Creator governs and rules His world? This is His DNA. This is who He is and how He governs, because the Torah is truth, right? The Torah is true, and it's always in perfect alignment and judgment. It's perfectly balanced. There's no uneven weights in the scale of judgment. So this is the standard by which our Creator interacts with, controls, and runs His universe. He's infallible. I don't know, I mean, it almost blows me away. I mean, I know just saying it and thinking about it, it's like, duh. But it just kind of blows me away, the fact that He keeps Torah perfectly, but it's because out of Him is where Torah comes from. He is saying to us, this is who I am, this is how I rule the universe. He is 100% totally just and trustworthy and true. He never violates. This is who He is, the essence of who He is. And He's given this instruction to us to say, hey, little gods, I've given you creative ability within your universe. This is the way that I govern the universe. Now take this and govern your universe. So when it comes to judging, and there's some cool stuff in here in the Hebrew about the breastplate. In Mishpatim, it talks about not judging or judging rightly between the rich man and the poor. And there's in the Hebrew it represents a slant or a diagonal. And then this week in the breastplate, which is used for judgment, it's to be positioned where it can't turn, it can't be crooked. It's held straight where it won't be diagonal. And diagonal is related within the two parshas to, being an uneven judgment. What happens when you have a scale and one thing is weighed more than the other, right? If you draw a straight line between the two, it's a diagonal line, right? So the idea of balanced in judgment. So in this case, can we judge one another?
We do.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Should we take His instructions and use His instructions to judge one another? Should we compare ourselves with each other and judge one another and look into other people's universes and make a determination whether or not that person is judging rightly within their universe, or whether that person is walking correctly within their universe? Should we do that? We know we shouldn't, right? We know we shouldn't. But what if we compared ourselves as rulers or as gods in our own universe? What if we compared ourselves to the God of gods? What if rather than comparing ourselves to our brother, because what happens when we compare ourselves? When you get into the flesh and you compare yourself to your brother, do you rule rightly? Are they just scales?
No. You're stepping on my toes.
Or does your scale always seem to weigh a little bit better?
You're
I'm
stepping
sorry.
on my toes.
But how many of us stand in a place of judgment? Has anyone in here ever judged anyone? Besides me? Okay.
I think you're right.
So, when you judged somebody else, did you fare out to be like that person not doing it quite as well as you? Is that not what happens? How many times have you judged someone else and went, man? But yet, what happens if we compare ourselves to the Creator of all things when it comes to Torah? Are we ruling our universe the way that He rules His?
No, because most of the time we leave out mercy.
But what happens to you? What happens to your spirit? What happens to your conscience? What happens to your soul? What happens to your demeanor if you walk about comparing yourself as you are accountable to God? You are accountable to Yahweh on how you rule your world compared to how He rules His. What happens to how we portray ourselves, how we view others? What happens to the way that you view your brother and sister?
You just,
Become humble.
and you get some fear in you.
I think. Anyone agree? Anybody disagree? So, He will never fail. He is just and true. And in your world, within yourself, I think we are instructed to have that place that we go to. I don't know if you've ever heard of Viktor Frankl, but I don't necessarily think that he was a proponent of, the one true living God, but he was a survivor of the Holocaust, and he speaks about being able to endure some of the hardships by being able to go to a place that even when he was being beaten or being ridiculed or being attacked, he realized that they had no effect on his world. They could hit his body, but what he thought of himself, they could not change that. They could attack his world, but they could never rule his world. He was still in the seat of rule within his own world. And no matter what happens to us in life, we can get to a place. Now, if you just stay on that right there, if you just get in that car and drive that car alone, and think about that, it can lead you to a place of deceit. Okay? You got to be very cautious. You can say, oh, well, nothing can affect yeah, there is one thing. It's the creator of all worlds. The one who created you, because you do have a beginning and an end. But it's not up to me. I cannot. Okay? I can insult you. I can insult you. I can insult you. I can say things that are mean and hateful. I can walk over and I can punch you with my fist, and it'll hurt. Maybe. Almost sound arrogant, like it would hurt. Yeah, whatever. But what I'm saying is how you interact with that. It does not, you have to make the choice whether or not you're going to let that change who you are. You're still in control of your universe. Right? I cannot make you do something. I can hold a gun to your head, but I can't make you. You still have that choice. Does that make sense to everyone? I think everybody kind of knows that. So within our world, we have to set up that Mishkan, that place that we go to within our world, where we go and we serve the Creator, where we acknowledge that we are not Him, that we go to Him for instructions. So within our Mishkan, there is the outer court. Okay? Who, according to Torah, who all can go into the outer court? Everybody. And in the outer court is sacrifice and the laver, right? So everyone can go here. Everybody can offer sacrifice. Everybody can go here. But to enter into this room, you have to be a priest. So within your world, within your universe, within your Mishkan, in your world, be a priest. So you can go in. And you can see. Then here is the bread of life and the light of the world. If Yeshua is in you, you will bear fruit. I don't have time to go into that whole message, but if He's in your world, if He is the juice by which you flow, then you will produce fruit, right? What causes a vine to produce a grape? What is inside that vine that causes it to produce a grape, right? We need to have that life flowing within us so that we produce the fruit. You will produce fruit if He is within you. And that's one of the points. So who is the Mishkan? The Mishkan would be Yeshua. Okay. So, I want to go to Exodus 27:20 real quick. Michael, open us up with this. I'm using it here towards the close. $27.20. You shall further instruct the Israelites to bring you clear oil of beaten olives for lighting, for kindling lamps regularly. Aaron and his sons shall set them up in the tent of meeting outside the curtain which is over the ark of the pact, to burn from evening till morning before Yahweh. It shall be a dew from this Israelite from all time throughout the ages. So in keeping with the idea of you being a universe and living out these instructions, as we come to a close here, I just wanted to focus in on the beginning of this week's Parsha, is that it says that you shall instruct Bnei Israel to bring clear oil of beaten olives. And this word for beaten olives, okay, the beaten olives, this is trampled. And think of that trampling of the olive to be the trials that we go through in this life. Okay, sometimes it's the struggles that we go through that actually strengthen us. When you're put in a position where you have to do something that you don't think you can do, you have to endure something you don't think you can handle, and at the end you have no other choice. You cannot get out of it. What do? We cry out to Abba, Father, please get me out of this, and we go through and we endure it. When we endure, are we not strengthened by that? So it's like we are a crushed olive. Okay? What comes out of that? What would the olive oil be? What does olive oil represent? What has it always represented to us as believers? Anointing. What else? Spirit. Somebody said something back there. Faith. So, you shall bring clear oil of beaten olives. So as we go through trials and temptations, I would say that this could be our praise as well. So bring the praise of enduring the trials to light the lamp so that you can see clearly within this world, and this is to be a perpetual covenant for you. Okay? Now, one other thing, and a lot of this that I've shared today actually came from last week's Parsha. So to speak about this week's Parsha, Exodus 28 through 30:10. What does it deal with mostly? Everybody read it? What does this Parsha deal with mostly? Let's say an individual. What individual is dealt with regularly in this week's Parsha? Aaron. So we have the priestly garment. Okay? If you read through the priestly garment, would you not say that Aaron appears to be held in esteem right here? Because he's going to wear all these royal type garments, royal clothes. It even says in there that this is to give him dignity and honor. So chapter 28 verse 2. Make sacred garments for your brother Aaron to give him dignity and honor. Just think about a couple things that are going on here. One, is Aaron the older or the younger brother? He's the older brother. Who's on top of the mountain receiving the instructions? Moses. And who is Moses going to go and give garments of honor and dignity to? Who's going to clothe him? He's putting clothing on his older brother. So don't forget the fact that there's a little bit of family relationship here too. Okay, so the ephod. Again, this deals with Aaron and his sons. And this is honor and dignity. I mean, this is... Would it not be an honor to you? Would it be an honor to you if the Creator of all things prescribed these clothes that we get in this Parsha and named you to wear them? Would you feel a sense of honor? I would.
Yeah.
So we got the priestly garments, the ephod, the breastpiece, other priestly garments, consecration of the priests. This is what this week's Parsha deals with. I'm going to give you a sneak peek. Not next week, but the following week. What do we have? No, it is next week. Next week, we have a big story. Anybody know which one it is? Exodus 32.
Golden calf.
Okay, so where are we at in our Parsha this week? Physically, where are we located? Where are these instructions given?
Or in the wilderness.
These are still the instructions, right? And Moshe is on the mountain receiving this from Yahweh. So this week's Parsha, Exodus 28 through 30, how much time do you think elapses to give this instructions? How much time do you think it takes for Yahweh to give these instructions to Moshe?
40 days.
But yeah, the whole thing's 40 days. But as far as this instructions right here with the priestly garments, I mean, how long does it take you to read it?
2 minutes.
20 minutes? 30 minutes? Right? So he could have been given in that amount of time. So what this hit me in a soft spot. I'm trying to take you on a journey instead of just telling you what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to take you on the same journey that I went through, the thought process as it was delivered to me. And sometimes maybe I should do that. But I'm reading through this week's Parsha and reading about all these things, you know, and Aaron and his sons and all this dignity. And I'm thinking about the dynamic of the younger brother being the one who's actually doing all these things and bestowing these. And what does it do? I'm just thinking about all these different things about the humility of Moshe to be the one who's on the mountain. Could he not stand there and go, wait a minute, I'm the one that's up here getting all the instructions. I'm the special one, right? I mean, it's not there. He's going down and he's going to dress up his older brother. And think about the older brother being dressed up by his younger brother. And Moshe being the one who's bringing the message and the older brother being the one receiving the instructions from his younger brother who got the, I mean, I see something in there. I don't know if you guys do or not. But I'm going to get back to this thing about Aaron. So next week's Parsha, we have the golden calf. And what I'm suggesting to you, what I am suggesting to you, is that while Aaron was at the base of the mountain, having the Israelites bring him gold and melt